So Clinch is a recruiting marketing tool, and Mitch Bilode, I think it's called, Bilyud, will talk to us about that. Hey, Mitch,
Hi there.
how's it going?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. Where in the world are you?
I am calling in from Austin, Texas,
All
so
right,
not quite as
Austin.
brisk here as I'm sure it is in Connecticut. Um, I
Yep.
was going to ask you if my attire of a jacket and hat was acceptable, and just judging from the looks of things, I think I'm on safe ground.
Yep. We're casual here on the
Wonderful.
webinar, so
All right. All right. Well, nice to meet you. Hello, everybody.
excellent.
Again, I'm Mitch Bo. I'm a solutions consultant with Clinch.
Excellent. How long have you worked there?
I've been here about a year now, so still wrapping my arms around some of the additional offerings that we have aside from Clinch, which goes all the way to the ATS, et cetera. But pretty firm ground here with Clinch.
Nice. Are you new to HR Tech, Mitch?
I am not. I was involved in AI software, sort of recruitment market, just shy of the recruitment marketing, sort of top of the funnel AI stuff. Won't get into the names, but
Yep.
yeah, fairly new to the space. Only been in it about 3 years, but
Gotcha.
really enjoy it. It's been
And
a
were you
crazy
at
time.
Clinch when they were acquired by PageUp, or did you come in after or
I came in after.
after?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
How's that been going with them?
Really outstanding. I mean, I was with that AI company, as I mentioned, doing HR stuff at the beginning of the pandemic, and so much has changed. It's such a dynamic space. So it's been a fun journey, and recruitment marketing, seems to be of great interest to folks right now. So really happy to get chances like these to sort of reach out and proselytize the importance of recruitment marketing suites like we have.
Yeah, I haven't seen the product in a while, so I'm curious to see how it's evolved. So go ahead, you can mouse over your picture, Mitch, and you'll see a share screen icon. You can
I
get
see
rolling
it.
from there. We can roll into the demo.
All right. So let
Excellent.
me hide this little bit. And so what you're going to hear at first as I show our sort of architecture slide is me sounding like I am reading a little bit, which is exactly what I'm doing. And then I'm after the little reading bit, I'm going to close this screen out and then walk you guys through a sort of truncated demo.
Sounds good.
So first of all, thanks again for having me. For those who are not familiar with Clinch, we handle, and am I echoing on your end of things? Do I need to put headphones on? Because I do hear a little bit of echo on my side.
No, you sound fine here, actually.
Okay.
Audience, you hear any echo there? Mentioned in the chat there, but tiny bit, Scott said.
Tiny
Okay.
bit. Let me see if I can get rid of it by putting headphones on. Let's give this a shot.
Okay.
Okay. Nope. Same issue.
Same issue.
But, so I'm just going to go without headphones because it is not my problem. Anyways, back to it. So Clinch handles everything your recruiting team needs to do to get a prospective candidate to become an applicant. That includes sourcing and attracting candidates, automation to nurture and engage them, authentic connections to convert them to apply. So we make the hard part of recruiting easier, and we do it by delivering a more authentic and transparent candidate experience. We bring the voice of your employees directly to candidates for a more personal journey. We leverage automation for communications and nurturing to save recruiters time. And we deliver robust data and insights, including behavioral data that allow you to make faster decisions. So with Clinch, you can really do more in your recruiting with fewer resources. Now, as I mentioned before, we don't have a time for a full Clinch demo, so we're just kind of truncate stuff a little bit, really go through the differentiators and some of the sort of key areas that folks are using our platform for in unique and creative ways to really amplify their brands. So a couple things to note. I am going to be sort of toggling between a candidate and the recruiter experience. So I hope it doesn't look like I'm jumping around too much, but I will try and keep things as linear as I possibly can while also slowing down and make sure we're kind of all on the same page. Sound good?
Yep.
All right.
Go for it.
All right, cool. So we are at Indeed. One of the two places in terms of paths that we're going to go down. Just a couple of things to point out and why I start here. We are just below the very top of the funnel, right? So if you kind of think about sourcing boards, job boards, Indeed, Google, Glassdoor, et cetera, as being the very top of the funnel, we really want to push people into a career site from that next step. And doing so allows brands to maintain and control the experience that any particular candidate may have. So instead of driving them directly to the ATS, we want to drive them to a sort of safe landing page where it really is brand forward and there's more than just the ATS, essentially that gap between top of the funnel and application. So if I decided I wanted to go from Indeed to apply on the company site for travel and leisure, I would end up at a Clinch powered career site for travel and leisure. And you'll notice immediately this is different looking than most ATSs will sort of show, right? So we have the apply now button where if I lean in and give my email address and name, I give the opportunity for travel and leisure to collect that little bit of information before needing to sort of complete an arduous application, which I'm sure many of the HR folks hear from potential applicants all the time. Now, what our system does is it looks for new requisitions in the ATS and it automatically creates a new job rec on the career site. So we just pull this data on the left-hand side over. We look at the tags associated with a particular rec in the ATS in order to guide how we're going to decorate a page. So a call to action, for example, will be context driven. So for example, a reservations coordinator, our system will know that even if there's just a simple name and email capture, that it is coming from the reservation coordinator spot. So it allows us to sort of not just show the right detail, but also allows us to nurture from and group in an appropriate way. On the right-hand side, you see other people viewed, which is really just looking at behavioral data. I mentioned that in the lead up, but looking at some of the data in terms of where I've steered throughout this career, as well as other folks in this particular case on this career site, and what are some of the more popular jobs that are being seen. I'm going to glaze over this one real quick because I'm going to come back to that. It's a sort of key element that we've included in the platform you probably haven't seen before. We also have the ability to embed maps and have sort of geolocation centered job capabilities, all driven by the browser. And then back to this this embedded video. So one of the places that we've gone is called Employee Connections. And it gives the opportunity for the brand to really put forward some of their insiders, or quote unquote insiders, or brand ambassadors, to allow candidates to reach out and ask questions directly of the employees who are working at the business at any one time. And it gives that unique voice to the brand that is not its own marketing voice, but is really the authentic voice of the employees there. So this is just an embedded version of an answer to a particular question. I could easily click on that, but I did want to show that it's also can be a fully blown out site that has all of the insiders that you may have at the business. We can even do live events, which Ernst & Young has done on multiple occasions. So when college students are coming out applying for their first role, doing a live event, allowing college students to lean in and ask questions of one or more of the insiders, and then being able to use those answers to present back to anybody who comes to the site in the future, hoping that and relying on the fact that a lot of those questions are repeatable. And the answers to those questions are repeatable too, and gives that more authentic experience, as well as providing a better sort of content engine than otherwise would be there. In this example, I show oftentimes, I know I jump between Coca-Cola and travel and leisure, but one of the reasons I did it is because this example is so good. Coca-Cola came to us looking for, again, that authentic voice. And we use this example all the time because Alexandra talks about being a field rep in the UK for Coca-Cola. And she talks a little bit about how how a lot of folks start those sorts of jobs and believe that they're going to be just cruising around London in a Ferrari when in fact they're driving around in Fiat doing real business. So in a lot of ways, it's a demystification of the role, as well as sort of giving that authentic voice. And the demystification part is important because when you do hire employees, or when brands hire employees, they want them to know what they're actually getting into. And having that authentic voice, Coca-Cola was unafraid to put that up there, to give a real authentic voice to one of the candidates, so that future employees know exactly what to expect from the role. Now, that's just one of the paths. The sort of most common path that job seekers take is through Zoom. Over 75% of job seekers begin their job seeking journey here at Google. And we're looking into Zoom, who's another customer of ours right now. And another piece to mention, obviously I've steered to this page before, but the other piece to mention is that over 80% of those 75% that start at Google actually end up going directly to a job page itself. And again, that lends more credence to being able to and ensuring that you're giving a sort of rich experience to any of the seekers who may be landing at the site. So you see that I've actually leaned in to apply now. And just a little story on this, I show this example a lot as well, because it actually happened to me. When I was preparing to interview at Clinch, I was sent Zoom as an example of a customer and was asked to present back to Clinch their own product. So that's what I do for a living. So they wanted to see how I was going to do. And I ended up diving all the way into this solutions engineering role, ended up watching the solutions engineer video, and got a ton out of it. I didn't know at the time this was something that Clinch did. That's what I was learning in the moment, but I actually leaned in far enough that I came very close to applying for a job here, but ended up going with Clinch, and glad that I did.
Hey, Mitch, are the videos, you're not hosting them, or you're just basically linking to,
We can embed, or we can host them. So both are true. So
you can upload directly onto your admin, whatever. And
yep, exactly. So when it comes to the employee connections piece, where the questions and answers are happening, that's hosted on our employees connections platform, and then embedded directly into the Clinch platform. But you can also upload videos directly into Clinch.
Gotcha. And then scroll back up there. I want to see that apply now section.
Uh-huh.
So, okay, I remember this from last time I saw you guys, and I love this because it helps you start the application process directly on the job description. Talk about that a bit if you could, just in terms of the importance of that.
Yeah, so it's kind of twofold, right? On one hand, you want to be able to drive people to the ATS to begin the application, but you don't want to miss the opportunity to collect their information that is going to be short of the application. And I kind of touched on it a little bit, but here, if I were to hit the apply button, what it would actually do is take me to the ATS, where I could then follow through on the application process. But at the same time, I just leaned in and said, send Zoom my first name, last name, and email address. So both goals have been accomplished with just that one quote unquote call to action. It is a differentiator of our platform too. There are other calls to action recruitment marketing platforms, but we give the user the ability to build from scratch whatever they want to build. And this is all context based too. So as I mentioned before, that name and email address is also now connected to the enterprise solutions engineering piece, which rolls up to a category and then rolls up to the broader business at large.
Right. Do you call it like an applied lead, or how do you describe that?
Yeah, so we'll actually know, because of our, and this is an important point to call out as well, because we are going to be integrated into your ATS at the same time, we will know when the applications were not complete. So it's definitely a lead, but if that individual goes to the ATS and completes that application, they'll still be considered a nurture entity, even if they're not a lead at the time being.
Right.
And so we'll continue to keep track of that lead going forward. Here's another just an example of a call to action that Zoom wanted to build themselves, which is a refer a friend. It's going to capture my details, then you can add your friend's details here as well. So you can build as many out of the boxes as you want. It's super easy to build, and we'll walk through that a little bit too. So if I favorite one of those, I can give you a quick sneak peek into what they are capturing, and by extension, what we are capturing. Job alerts, the favorites. So you can see that throughout the platform, it's not just a show me what I want to see as a candidate. It's also give back to Zoom all of the insights that they would need to market to you correctly. We have a customer called Foundation Medicine who converts 86% of their sent job alerts because they're able to be so direct. And when I say converts, I mean they get job opens on their emails. Okay. I don't mean to say converts 86% into applications, but 86% of their emails are open because they are so targeted with the effort.
86% open rate. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and let me just show you what happens to me when I actually submitted that first form that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. They know that I didn't complete the application, so they sent me that email, and this is straight from Clinch. Clinch on behalf of Zoom. They know because they look in the ATS and they say it's not a complete application. Therefore, in the workflows, using workflow automation for Clinch, we're going to go ahead and let him know that we know it's not done yet, but we're going to encourage him to go ahead and finish. And now I'm just going to go to our demo site, which all of this is possible, and we build this and maintain it specifically for pre-sales purposes. You can see that I've registered my interest in AquaCorp, our fake company. I've actually added my phone number in. You can also see the embedded employee connections platform here as well. So not just the platform, but you can embed those Q&As all across the platform. Which
do you do
gets
anything with texting inside the platform itself?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll walk through one of the workflows that allows you to text. So both text engage, which can be an automated SMS to even do pre-screening, et cetera, all the way down to being able to workflow using the marketing automation flows that we have. And switching channels, and one of the examples will call that out. Mm-hmm. And so you can see I captured myself in the platform. So I am switching hats here. I'm going from candidate to candidate at Zoom and at Clinch. Now I'm all of a sudden, this is a little bit weird because I'm mixing the nouns, but now I'm going to become the recruiter, right? And these are all the people that the recruiting platform has captured on the career site, right? It's also looking at the ATS saying, did I complete an application? The answer for me, of course, is no right now. You'll notice this interaction score too. So we're tracking everything that's going on the site. We're able to see from a recency and frequency perspective what type of interaction is going on with anybody who's on any one of our sites at the time. And then we feed that into our algorithm to essentially score so that you can use this as a tool to determine how you're going to remarket whoever might be coming. So for me, I'm high interaction score. This might be something that our marketing automation, the marketing automation flows might highly prioritize reaching out to me, since I am actively interested in investigating. So this is essentially our CRM in this case, and it just keeps track of all of my behavior, anything that's gathered in. You'll even notice that at one time the system didn't know who I was, but I went from unknown to known. So this is telling you that at one time, the system was simply tracking an unknown person all around the site, collecting all of the data and details associated with those visits. Then once I submitted my name and email address, all of a sudden the system knew who I was, and that's able to draw those connections for the future when there is an ATS entity there, and we can be a little bit more targeted with and smart about how we market back to, in this case, me. Now, a couple more pieces to point out along this left rail here. You do see the triggered workflows that I was added to automatically. Statistics, location, where my browser was when browser was when I did the browsing, emails that were sent out to me, etc. Another one of the cool things, just to kind of give you an example for how much detail we're getting on these website visits, I can even look at the heat maps and say, on my visit where I submitted my email and first name, last name, I could see exactly what my mouse flow was like. And this is true for any entity in the site. Now, let me pause right there. I know I've been through quite a bit. I'm just going to kind of talk about what I've been through so far. So
Okay.
we talked about examples, two different flows, pulling people into the platform, creating that CRM quote unquote object in the platform that can now be workflowed, analyzed. And then I want to talk a little bit at the very last about how we build those pages, exactly like the calls to action forms that I showed you a moment ago. So taking this CRM, let me just have a quick look at these workflows. As I mentioned before, when I was when I got that email, we have the ability to, when there is an incomplete, auto nurture incomplete drop off was the flow that I entered. And it said, okay, when the job matches the Department of Engineering, wait for 2 hours. And if the application status is complete, go ahead and send a thank you for applying. If it is not, send that nudge email. And that's the one that I showed you in the platform. Then the system is going to wait for 2 days and 4 hours. And then it's going to look and say, has he finished it yet? And if the answer is no, we might send a second email that says, hey, we know you're busy. Thanks so much for your original interest. We'd love for you to finish the application. You seem like an interesting candidate to us. And then again, 3 days, 0 hours, 0 minutes going forward, we're going to look and say, has Mitch completed the application as of yet? And if the answer is yes, of course, they get the newsletter. If the answer is no, here's where we bring in that SMS text messaging. And this is great for high volume, particularly skewing younger folks as well, to be able to say, hey, okay, we know that you may not be active every day on email, but you might get this SMS text message. And again, to the Foundation's Medicine example I gave with the 86% open rate, when people know that they were actually interested in a particular job and people are reaching out to them, it amplifies interest going back the other way.
Gotcha. Do you have pre-built workflows in the platform when a company?
We have suggested workflows. One of the things that we're really good at a 96% renewal rate is getting people up and going. So you may not you of course know this, but PageUp is our parent company. They've been around since 1999, enabling higher ed and enterprise to on ATSs. It basically gave us all of the muscle memory we needed to be able to implement and do things like have a host of starter workflows that we'll help businesses begin with. And then once some of those are just the starting point is made, you can easily just simply copy them, make small changes here and there, go campaign specific, whatever the case might be.
Gotcha.
Cool. A couple more things to point out, and then we'll call it. So let's talk for just a second about analytics. So I'm going to go home here. Now, what kind of signals were thrown off? As I mentioned already, we have pretty comprehensive ability to understand who's coming to the site, what they're doing while they're on the site, and whether or not they're converting in the long run. And that's expressed here in the candidate funnel. How many folks are visiting? How many are potential candidates, which are essentially people who haven't started applications yet, but we know who they are, all the way down to the hired process. And we can even look even before the visit took place and say, where is this traffic being driven from? So in both the travel and leisure and the Zoom examples, we know one of those was coming from Google and one of them was coming from Indeed. So in this perfect world, we'd be able to say, all right, tell me about how those individuals progress through the funnel, because it can vary dramatically. And then beyond that, how much are we spending on each one of the channels? And let's divide up that spend by where people are inside of the funnel, so we can really get granular about the type of performance that we're getting from each of the sort of job boards or any of the third-party sites that we're driving traffic from all the way to the career site. This is one of the areas that I love. Another area too is to talk about is that we aren't just focused on the career site. We can also help drive campaigns, even live event campaigns. And this one example that we have, the Big Meet 2022, is a campaign driven to be, first of all, via digital to drive traffic to an in-person event. And then from that in-person event, get people to use our iPad app to input their name and email address should they show up, so that we get even more data on them. So this is the success of that event, sort of shown in funnel version, and the success of the site itself that we built from a campaign perspective is expressed here. So we get a green for whether or not there's high interactivity. Medium gets a yellow interactivity. Obviously, stoplight analytics is what we call them. I shouldn't say it's obvious, but it's obvious why we call them that, I should say. And then we see this video, for example, doesn't have the interaction that we might expect from it, while the registration calls to action does. So we might, use this in real time to make the decision to move the video down, move the registration up. When I hear all the time that typically success of campaigns is in terms of analytics is something you get way down the line, 6 months sometimes after the campaign took place or the event took place. Here you're able to go in and see from a day-to-day basis the success of your campaigns as they happen. And again, the final thing to cover, which I didn't go into a whole lot of detail on, is building the pages themselves. And it's super easy. It is a CMS system. So if you kind of think about WordPress and just building pages using a sort of starter framework, so you don't have to be fluent in HTML and CSS, but you can lean on those teams inside of marketing that does this work every day. This is a great CMS, and underneath is where we get all of the power of our analytics from, and we're able to do all those really cool routing of individuals as well. So I know that's a little bit going backwards. Sometimes people would expect me to show the page first, but I love kind of walking people through the experience of the candidate all the way to what happens with those individuals in the background, and then how's the champagne made from there backwards.
Yeah, I think it was a good way to show it off there. So appreciate that, Mitch. We do have a question from the chat.
Yeah.
So Shield's asking, which is the emailing tool you're using there?
The tool that we use is just our own emailing tool where we can save HTML and CSS templates that'll connect into your Outlook. So using your own normal client, so that you'll be sending emails from what is essentially your own email address.
Yep. And what's your favorite feature, Mitch, of the product? What stands out to you?
That is a great question. Let me think for just a moment. I really like the workflows. I think it's just super easy to use, and it's super scalable as well. So there's, once we set you up inside of enablement, recruitment marketing teams, which as every recruitment marketer or recruiter here would know, are pretty thin teams, right? There's not the same sort of budget spent on folks being able to, nurture candidates. And so we've really spent time making sure that our marketing automation engines scale up nicely. So that teams can get to that 86% open rate without having to have a team of 3 or 4 recruitment marketers there to do the work.
Yeah, very cool. Well, it looks like Prelude's a no-show, so it's just going to be Clinch today on the demo hour. And I have one more question for you, Mitch, and then if the chat row, if you have anything else to ask, now's your chance. But Mitch, what tip do you give a new client of Clinch in terms of coming in and being successful with their product at the outset?
Yeah, I think going back to kind of what I was touching on a moment ago, is this can be pretty intimidating to recruitment teams because it's doing a lot, right? The sites themselves are good looking. They adhere to the marketing specs a lot of the time. So people generally think, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard. And I hate this, and this is going to sound kind of salesy to say, but it's not hard. It really is easy to kind of build and just let go. So I think asking those questions, how hard is it to get enabled? What are your renewal rates? Are the sort of questions to be asking both us and our competitors.
Good stuff. Well, I put the URL there in the chat, clinchtalent.com. Mitch, appreciate your time today, and thanks a lot for showing off the tool.
You bet. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. And thank you guys out there who are watching. Really appreciate your time. Hopefully hear from some of you soon.
Definitely. Well, we'll put out I'll email all the attendees again with a link. You can come back and watch us on the very same link. So, yeah, appreciate everyone for joining today, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on RecTech Live. So we out. Take it easy, Mitch.
Take care.
All right.